Hi, this is Wendy Jensen, and welcome to this presentation of spiral dynamics. And I am excited to share this with you because, especially in my field of helping people recover from religious trauma and faith crisis and finding new spiritual roots that feel authentic for them, spiral dynamics was a huge help for me because it not only shows me where the consciousness of the planet has been, but it also shows me where we are going and where we're headed. And it helps me understand where I fall on the spectrum. And so it's really important to help one understand where we are with religion right now and where it fits in, because a lot of the things that we hear is that we're just becoming a godless people, and it's not really the reality. The thing is we think that that those people who lived 2,000 years ago knew more about God than we do today. So let me explain why that might not be. Where does spiral dynamics come from? It is an ongoing model that started emerging in 1952 with Clare Graves' study, and you'll find this study in his book called The Futurist. It's been documented and observed extensively by other geopolitical advisors and theorists that are focused on applications of large-scale psychology, so like global psychology and social psychology, evolutionary psychology, organizational psychology, and their effect on human socio-cultural systems. We live in an awesome time where we get to experience this. We have the data. We get to watch how we grow and develop as human beings from a whole different viewpoint. Like there's a bigger eye on us watching us, and we get to gather and collect the data and see how we can adjust it and how we're growing, and we're starting to be able to observe ourselves. So what is spiral dynamics? It explores the process of human emergence and how living systems like you and I, human beings, grow and change. It's a way of tracking the evolution of worldviews, world values, and ways of thinking. So we can watch how these cultures grow on the planet, see the patterns and similarities, and see what's to be expected next. It's a map that shows us the development of, the expansion of, and the emergence of the consciousness of the human race. So basically what spiral dynamics is it's a system to show you how consciousness evolves and grows and expands. And so each level of the spiral will be demonstrating the consciousness or the awareness or the capacity of the being to understand and observe. It emerges in response to life conditions. So as we evolve, we create one set of problems, and then we create another set of problems. Or we create a set of solutions, but then that creates another set of problems, and that cycle continues. So what I kind of understand it as is it's like an expansion and a contraction, or chaos to order. And by doing that, we grow in this spiral way instead of this chronological or linear way. It's more of a spiral way that we're growing and developing. And so we get to observe that. So why is it relevant at this time? It's like pinnacle. It's paramount for us at this day and age that we're in, where we have all these cultural wars going on, that we have to learn how to cope with the differences of others. We have to do it clearly, more maturely, and more effectively, or we're gonna kill each other off. So it helps. It's relevant because it broadens and expands our own consciousness personally and privately, so we're not trapped in any of these little tiny paradigms and limited worldviews. I know when I went through my faith crisis at the time, I have a high IQ. I thought I was intelligent. I was functional in the world. I was helping people in my career. But when I had a faith crisis and I realized how tiny my view was, and it made me more tolerant of other people. And I wasn't afraid or needed them to conform or fit into my box, because I was no longer afraid of being annihilated or burned in hell, or somebody was going to disown me, or I was going to be abandoned from the tribe. And so once I was able to do that, boy, my consciousness expanded just with that little bit of information. And as you see the spiral dynamics, you'll see right where you fit on the spectrum. And that's an important part. And that was my next point. When you recognize the pulse of the planet, you'll gain insight to where you are and how to take the next step. So how you can evolve and where you're going. Of course, you're going to do it unique to you. However, you know, kind of because of the patterns, kind of where you're headed next and where your consciousness is going to expand to next. When you're educated in this model, you're empowered to be a master observer rather than just a participant in this unconscious drama that's unfolding before us. We can actually see where people are on the spectrum, and we can recognize where we are on that spectrum. And it just gives us more tolerance. It enables us to be able to be okay with where they're at instead of needing it to be a certain way. The more people who understand this model are people who are empowered to prevent war, heal nations. They develop diplomacy. To me, we need these leaders in our world. And if you're waking up, it's not enough to wake up. We have to grow up too. So it's great that there's this enlightenment movement, but it really doesn't do much for the planet unless we're going to grow up too. And that means we have to be responsible and have that spiritual fortitude and that compassion for humanity in order for it to all move forward in a progressive way. So, and that includes a morality, but it's an inborn morality. It's already imprinted upon us. It's not something that needs to be overlaid upon us, which is what religion has done. That religion is men's philosophies of how God sees us. And so it's interesting to have a new perspective. So as you're seeking your higher destiny and your purpose on the planet, this is really a commitment to leadership. When you know better, you do better. So let's start at the first level of consciousness. So I'm not just explaining a community or a group of people or a level of consciousness for how people are. I'm explaining it how we are as individuals too. So we personally and privately go through all of these levels, but we also go through them on a collective conscious level as well. So the beige level of consciousness, let's begin there. They are the survivors. They are kind of archaic. They are seeking food. They want warmth. And reproduction is important to keep the species alive. And so they're just the basic instincts. They're very instinctual, in fact. Archaic, they're survivors. They just do whatever it is they need to survive. They were the hunters and the gatherers. In our world, they represent the infants, the elderly, those who are severely mentally ill, those who have extreme poverty or homelessness. These people don't have the resources or the ability to be able to contribute much to the problems of the planet. And so because they only rely on their senses, their instincts, and their intuition. Now, in the beginning, that's important that we develop our senses, our instincts, and our intuition. We have to go through all of these levels. And if we gather the healthy aspects and qualities of each level, then we're going to move forward in a healthy way. So they have no distinct sense of self. Pretty much like a baby doesn't realize, that they're not the only one that's important on the planet. They are not worried about what mom's up to or what mom needs. They just know they're hungry and I want you to be here now and feed me because I'm uncomfortable. So they foraged for food. They made it according to opportunity. So I'm not talking about the babies. I'm talking about maybe what we would consider just the more Neanderthal type level of communities that were on the planet in the beginning. So they made it according to opportunity. There's no moral code for mating. There was no God said this. There was no marriage. There was just made according to opportunity and what feels right and what feels good. The father eats first was kind of like the feeling, because the father was the one that went and captured the food. And if dad doesn't eat, then the whole family is going to die. So that's might move into a little bit of patriarchy right there in the beginning. Although if if